One of the biggest questions that we get asked is how to actually win the buy box, or what is the buy box, or what is the secret to actually winning the buy box? And it's been one of the top asked questions by new and experienced Amazon FBA sellers. You guys asked and we delivered. Inside of this video, we're going to be going over exactly what the buy box is and what you need to be doing on a daily basis to give yourself the best chances of winning the buy box.
I don't want to get paid to lose. I want to win!
So first off, what is the buy box? On the front page of almost every Amazon.com listing, there's going to be a box on the right side of the screen that says add to cart or buy now. Inside of that, that is the buy box, and it's the front page that the customer can buy directly on. In some other instances, when you go to view a listing on Amazon.com, it's going to say no buy box, and it's just going to say see all other sellers, where you have to click into it and then actually go and find a seller to purchase the item from. In those two instances, the first one where there's a button to click and buy the item right away is the buy box, and that's what every Amazon seller is trying to win or capture for the most amount of time. Now, on the flip side of things, the other example where there is no buy box, that's called a suppressed listing. We're going to ignore those for the sake of this video. In terms of the buy box, it's that front page or the most generated sales. The first one, and arguably one of the more important ones, is obviously logistics, and that goes without saying that if I'm shipping goods all over the East Coast as an Amazon FBA seller and they're not getting distributed, let's say out west, the buyer in an East Coast scenario has a lot better chance of buying the item from me because the Prime can get the product to the customer as quickly as possible. On the flip side, on the West Coast, if my goods are not being transferred there through FC transfers, there's going to be a good chance that a customer in California is going to be seeing a different buy box than a customer in New Jersey or on the East Coast. You can actually try these things out too by swapping your delivery location on Amazon and then checking to see if the buy box updates when you refresh and go into the same listing based off of that seller. So there's not much we can do in terms of location, and you don't want to necessarily ship your goods from the East Coast to the West Coast to get more sales or vice versa. That one you can't really control. In terms of things that you can control as a third-party Amazon FBA seller, the first factor in winning the buy box is pricing your item competitively. That does not mean, and there's a giant misconception, that you have to have the lowest price to win the buy box. The rest of the factors are also going to explain why you don't have to have the lowest price. But in general, as a rule of thumb, you're going to want to be within 2 to 3% of the buy box price at all times to stay competitive, or what Amazon deems as competitive. You can be a little bit lower, a little bit higher. This is not a video exactly on how to price your items. We can make a separate video for that. I do not recommend undercutting by a penny to retain the buy box. It's not going to work long term, and it's just going to drive listing quality down overall for all the sellers. Once you make sure that you're priced competitively, the next thing is going to be your fulfillment method, FBA versus FBM. And a lot of times, FBA sellers can sell the product for a more expensive price than FBM and win the buy box because Amazon prefers FBA over FBM. Check out all the history on the product, whether you're using BuyBot Pro or Keepa, to determine whether or not the product buy box is normally held by the FBA sellers or FBM. In general, fulfillment helps, and also the transit time helps, and that's our next factor, which is your item actually checked into Amazon? So sometimes your items might not actually be fully checked into Amazon, and when you view all the sellers on the listing, you'll see the dates that Amazon is estimating delivery. If yours is a lot longer than the rest of the sellers on the listing, it means they're in stock and ready to ship. Your product is still in FC transfer, which you could view on the Seller Central side to see exactly where your items are and when estimated that they will be actually fully checked in. The next key to winning the buy box is going to be consistently staying in stock. This is not something that everybody talks about, but if you can have your product in stock for a longer period of time, that will allow you to win the buy box more. It makes perfect sense because if you're in stock longer or for the entire month, obviously, you're going to have more chance of getting buyback share than if you only had a week's worth of stock. You can't get that much buyback share. The additional part to that is anybody that reorders any replenishable products, if you're consistently in stock, you will actually get the sales. If the customer goes through their order history and tries to buy your item again, you will automatically get the buy box. So getting repeat customers can be a thing if you're always in stock. The final way to win the buy box is mostly just based off of feedback and review history. As long as you're doing FBA, you're going to in general have like 99 to 100% feedback if you're doing the right things. And the only way to get more feedback is just in general by consistently selling more and more orders, because out of every X amount of orders, you'll get X reviews and they'll slowly build up over time. If you're somebody with less reviews, it does hurt you a little bit. However, it's not actually going to factor in too much when winning the buy box. And eventually, the only way to do it is to just consistently sell. And eventually, you'll start to get more and more buy box share. It's like another one of those snowballing, compounding effects with Amazon. So in general, those are the 4 or 5, maybe 6 different factors that actually factor into winning the buy box. I would keep those in order of priority, with price being the number 1 factor, as well as your items being fulfilled by FBA. There are a lot of instances when you can be an FBM buy box holder, but you're going to want to be in stock for a long period of time. And there's a lot more that goes into being able to do that, because your transit times have to be really, really fast to accomplish that goal. If you have any more questions about winning the buy box, click the link down below to join our free Discord community, where we can answer all of your questions and also monitor your ASINs and help you, so that way we can determine why you might not be winning the buy box and what changes you need to be doing in the future. That wraps up this video about winning the buy box. Thank you for your business.